Welcome to Turning Back the Pages, the podcast where usually children's book authors discuss their favorite childhood books. This month, however, I'm talking to artists about their favorite art found in children's books. Today, artist Jenny Williams is joining me to discuss the art in Strega Nona by Tommy DePaula. Jenny Williams is the artist and owner behind Carrot Top Paper Shop, an online shop for bookish kindred spirits, founded in 2015. She is also the co-author of Eat Like a Heroine. Jenny is passionate about nurturing creativity and approaching every aspect of life with a heroine mindset. She and her family live in a little house in the big woods in Oklahoma. Find her online at artistjennywilliams.com and at Carrot Top Paper Shop on Instagram. Welcome, Jenny.
Thanks, Allie. Thanks so much for having me.
It is a joy to have you. One part of your bio that you did not add because you don't know is your art is featured not in one room, not in two rooms, but 3 rooms of our house.
Oh my goodness.
In our library and also in both my daughter's rooms. So
I am honored. That's so good.
I have a bit of a confession. Like when I started talking about making this podcast and was thinking about who I would invite, I was like, man, I would really like to invite artists because even though you're not specifically a children's book illustrator, I was like, I feel like she fits in. So when I finally was like, oh, I'll do a whole month about artists. So I'm really glad you're here.
That's perfect. Thanks for finding a way to include me. I appreciate it.
Yes, well, you chose Strega Nona as your book. And so before we get into discussing the art, I always have everyone recap the book for 30 seconds. And so I'm going to put 30 seconds on the clock. If you're ready to just give a quick recap, I'll let you recap, and then I'll cover anything that didn't get covered in that 30 seconds.
I will do my best. I feel like I should practice this beforehand, but I'll give it a shot.
Okay, 3, 2, 1, go.
Okay, so Strega Nona lives in a small Italian village, and her name means Grandma Witch. She heals people in town from various maladies, and she also has a cauldron from which she can cook pasta magically. And one day she hires Big Anthony. I have no idea. And he tries to copy her and also feed the whole town with pasta from her magic pot, and he ruins it terribly.
Perfect. 2 seconds to spare.
Oh, great.
That was fantastic. Yes, so I think you covered everything. At the end, everyone is trying to get onto him and punish him, and Strega Nona makes him eat all the pasta.
Yes, a fitting punishment for the crime. Yeah.
I was reading it with my kids, and they were saying that they didn't think that was a punishment, and I was like, that's a lot of pasta.
The whole village is overflowing with it. Yes. Yeah, makes my stomach hurt just thinking about it.
All right, I have a little bit of background information on Tommy DePaula. He was born in Meridian, Connecticut in 1939. He received his BFA from Pratt Institute in Brooklyn, New York, and his MFA from the California College of Arts in Oakland, California. He received his doctoral equivalency in fine arts from Lone Mountain College in San Francisco. He has written or illustrated. Do you know how many books he has written or illustrated? Can you give a guess?
It must be, I don't know. It must be that close to 100.
270.
Oh, wow. Okay, way more.
I am always impressed with the people that are like above 100 books.
Yes.
I mean, 100 books in general would be a lot, but 270.
Oh my goodness.
Nearly 25 million copies of his books have been sold. Many of his books have won awards. The American Library Association named Strega Nona a Caldecott Honor Book, and he also got a Newbery Honor Award for, do you know which book he got a Newbery for?
A Newbery. A Newbery. No, I don't know.
He got it for 26 Fairmount Avenue, which I have not read.
Okay, yeah, I haven't either.
So here are some fun facts. His favorite color was white. Can you guess why?
Oh, you know what? I feel like this is in one of his books, and I can't think of the answer right now. It's one of his in Tom, or maybe The Artist.
Yeah, it is in one of his books. All the other colors look great against it, he says.
Oh.
He always signed his name with a heart, usually inside the big loop that he made with his T. He said the heart was a symbol of himself and his love. When asked what his favorite book of his own was, he for a long time would answer the book that he was working on at the time of the question. However, when a new full-color redrawn edition of Nana Upstairs and Nana Downstairs was published, he realized that Nana Upstairs and Nana Downstairs was his favorite book that he had written. Strega Nona is banned in some libraries because of its positive portrayal of magic. So I'm a big fan of reading banned books. So we are reading a banned book. Deepala died in 2020 from complications from a surgery following an injury falling in his barn. He was 85 years old. So tell me, why did you pick Strega Nona?
Well, I mean, first of all, I think this was communicated via email, but like I just had a hard time in general picking a single book. This was the hardest question. So I guess, well, and I wasn't sure if you meant like my favorite child like picture book now, because I feel like I'm even more obsessed with picture books now as an adult than I have ever been before. And this is something, maybe I don't know if you know this or not, but I wrote a picture book with my husband, and but it's not published.
Okay.
It's one that my agent has been like, we kind of have put it on the back burner as we've worked on other things. But I will say that's a goal of mine for the future. But after writing one and doing the sample illustrations, I feel like it just like exploded my appreciation for them all the more. Like they are just such works of art. So I love Tommy DePaola like now more than ever, but I do remember reading some of his books as a child, specifically in first grade. I remember my first grade teacher reading those books to us, and they just really stood out in my memory. And I don't know if it was the artwork or the stories, but something about seeing them as an adult, I just thought like, oh, I want to start. I remember him. I want to reread his work. And so Strega Nona is, you know, one of his best known, and I don't know if it's my personal favorite, but I had to pick one. You forced me. So.
Yes, I will add for the audience. You said that your favorite, one of your favorite books as a child was Berenstain Bears, and we jointly decided that we would not discuss the art in that. But
right.
I think this was a great choice, and it was funny because I recognized the art when I was looking up the choices that you had originally given me. And I was like, oh man, I know I've read this book, but it like the actual story's not coming to mind, but the art looks very familiar. And as soon as we got to the pasta page, I was like, oh, I know exactly what this is, because that stuck out. And it had to have been around the same time, kindergarten, first grade, maybe second grade, that I read that as well. And I just can remember the pasta, just having that image of the pasta like pouring out of the pasta pot.
Yes.
So you said that your first time reading the book was around first grade in class. Do you have any other memories about your first impressions reading the book?
I was like racking my brain, like putting myself back in that circle, because I remember like sitting on the floor, seeing my teacher sitting in front of us, and I don't really, other than I remember thinking the artwork was very different from any other picture book that I had seen. And I do think I remember thinking like, this is my understanding of witches was like Halloween, you know, pointing hats. I had never seen, well, as you said, a positive portrayal of a witch. So I think maybe that felt kind of interesting as a kid.
Yeah.
Like, oh, it's okay to read this, and and now it's just like, you know, it's a folk story, or it's his original story, but it feels, you know, it's just like a fairy tale basically.
Yes, yeah, I will say that it's funny reading it because I had read it in the past, and then when I was reading that it was a banned book, I was like, for the witchcraft, like that seems a little okay, because it does read just like a folk story.
Yeah.
Just like any other thing, except that she specifically is a witch.
Right. But you would have to ban all fairy tales, it seems like, if you were to ban this book. So
it does. Yeah. It does seem to be logical to do that. So what stood out to you as a child when you read this book? For the story or the art or both?
Well, I don't know. Like, obviously, it made an impression on me. You know that I seeing it as an adult, I just like, I can't articulate what it was, but it was something about like, oh, I want to read these again because I remember them.
Mm-hmm.
And whereas I'm sure there would be other books from my childhood that I might be like, oh, I remember that, but I wouldn't be wanting to read them again necessarily. So I think that's part of the magic of his work, is that there's something appealing. And I don't know, I have more appreciation for those books that like I'll read to my kids and it's just a story. It's not like I just feel like it's becoming kind of a rarity. Like a lot of picture books now are just trying to entertain or teach a concept or something, and that's all fine. But I just like, I really love a well-told story that's just like to the point, and it's short and simple, and but it doesn't get old. It's like you could read this story so many times, and it's not obvious what the point of it is. You know, it's like, oh, that's how it ends. Like he eats a lot of pizza. Like the moral of the story, you know. What is the moral of the story? But again, I've heard like Tommy DePella say that he never tries to moralize. He tries to teach. He doesn't. I wouldn't, maybe not the word teach. He tries to portray truths, but he's not trying to like cram a moral into a child. So I think that comes across in his work, is that it's primarily to be beautiful and entertaining and engaging. And I feel like he just like you. Maybe this is what I felt as a child, but like I just felt like taken seriously. You know, like you can tell when you read a picture book as a child, like this author, illustrator is not talking down to me. Yes. A kid might not be able to say that at all, but there's something about it that's like, this person believes that I have like, things should be created for my enjoyment as well.
Yes.
And I think significant.
Yes, I think so. And even thinking about his art, I feel like his art is not super, like it's good art, and it's not so cutesy. Seems like the wrong word because I like cutesy art, but there does seems something to be in his art that matches that his stories as well.
Yeah, the tone.
Yeah, for sure. You've touched on it a little bit, but how has reading this book changed through the years, and what stands out to you about the art now?
I guess I would just say, like, in general, his work, I don't know, there's just it's like he oozes joy and delight. Like and I feel like this is with most picture book authors and illustrators, like it's kind of crazy that this is a job. Like they get paid to do this, and they obviously love it or they wouldn't be doing it. But I just think there's something so joyful about like just dedicating all your time to making something beautiful for children that they'll want to see again and again. There's many illustrators you could say that about, but there's just something about Tommy that it just like it matches what I know about him in real life, like just so perfectly, you know. Like there's no pretenses. He's not trying to be somebody he's not. He's just what he is, and it comes through in his art.
Yeah. How does his art tell this story?
Well, it has a very like other or maybe old world kind of feel. I was trying to figure out like what is it about? Like his style is so distinct. You know, like there's nothing else like it. And it always fascinates me when illustrators can come into their own style. Like how did they get there?
Yes.
You know, like I feel like I've understood that a little bit more in my own art journey, but and maybe he would be able to point to like these were my influences, whereas I can look at it and it's more mysterious and like what were his influences. Maybe he knows more, but it feels like there's something from his heritage, his Italian heritage. I was also thinking like it kind of reminds me of what I love about stained glass windows. Like they're very colorful and warm, and like when the light's shining through, there's something to look at again and again. And also like the sharp lines around everything, like everything is so, I don't know what it is. It's like so satisfying. Everything is so like tidy looking, but clean. Like he doesn't use patterns. Like all their clothing are just like tunics and draping robes, and they're all in solid colors, but also like very harmonious. Like I love how he uses like different shades of the same color. Kind of these ombre looks, and they're like harmonious on the color wheel, like sunset colors. You know, they all kind of like they're very harmonious. So I don't know, it just gives it a very like timeless feel, I guess.
Yeah, and it's not boring, even though there's not patterns or anything like that in the
Right.
clothing, but it's still, it communicates a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I felt like looking at some of the characters, I was like, I know who this character is, the way that he's drawn them.
Yes. Yeah.
Do you have a favorite illustration in the book?
I was trying to find one. I mean, I don't know that I do. Well, I mean, I don't know. I guess like one example of the what I like about the drawings in this book is the one toward the beginning when Strega Nona is pointing to the pot and telling Big Anthony, like, do not, whatever you do not touch this pot.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like the little window up in the corner with the bird sitting there, and she has like her hanging plants from the ceiling that are drying, and it's just, and then like there's a rabbit in the foreground. It's just like this lovely sense of balance that's
Mm-hmm.
created. Yeah, everything just has like a sturdiness. I also love his use of hands. I'm kind of obsessed with
Yeah.
like a lot of his like fingertips have a flat top, and they're
Uh-huh.
just big, and I don't know, I just find them super interesting. I love hands in general and drawing. I love the challenge of drawing hands, and I tend to draw mine a little bit more like delicate, but I just think hands can tell, like hands change everything in drawing.
And this is why I'm not an artist, is because my hands are just like
But think about his work if they were like tiny, delicate, like mitten like hands,
yeah,
you know? Like it would just
yeah.
totally change everything. There's just something about them that
That's so
it's
true.
so yeah.
That's so true. I don't think I've paid attention to the hands because they are, I know exactly what you're talking about, but that is funny. I've not put a lot of thought in that, and that would change. Like your drawing of hands would look very funny on
Yeah.
Strega Nona or Big Anthony or
Right,
any of
right.
them. That's
Mhm.
really funny. Turning Back the Pages is sponsored by bookshop.org. Okay, no, not really, but let's talk about bookshop.org. Bookshop.org works to connect readers with independent booksellers all over the world. Every purchase on the site financially supports independent bookstores. I've chosen my local independent bookstore, Thank You Books, for when I purchase a book from bookshop.org. And Turning Back the Pages has its own shop. All the books discussed on the show can be found on the show list at the store. To find out more, you can click on the link in the show notes. Or, if you wanted to do it the hard way, Google bookshop.org and search for Turning Back the Pages under the shop search on the website. Happy shopping, happy reading. Has this art inspired you in any way? Any of Tommy DuPaula's art?
You know, I think it has. I don't know if it's just I'm drawn to it because it's what I already like,
Mm-hmm.
or if he has informed what I like. And you know,
Mm-hmm.
that's always a fine line. So maybe a lot of this was like firm, like maybe a lot of this was planted in my subconscious early on, and I don't realize it. But I don't know, especially because I'm not a trained artist. I'm self-taught. I never went to school for art. I suffered from a little insecurity in the beginning
Mm-hmm.
of my journey, my art journey, just trying to figure out like I don't know, just kind of a little bit of imposter syndrome, you know, like I don't know if I can call myself an artist, and I'm thankfully I've let a lot of that go. But I feel like when you are self-taught, you're kind of looking around at other artists for almost like permission, like, oh, I could do
Mm-hmm.
something like that, like I don't. That's how I think of it. Is like this artist has given me permission to do this a little bit,
Mm-hmm.
and so I have a lot of influences in that sense. But Tommy, I feel like, has given me permission with quotes in the best way to just like there's no to like let go and like
Yeah.
just me like draw whatever comes out, and um rather than trying to like force a style or you know say like, oh well, this isn't good art because it doesn't look like this person's. Like if you're drawing out of love and because you want to give something to others in your work, like to children or whoever you're drawing for,
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that should be the primary um, uh, role. That's your primary role as an artist, and I just feel like Tommy does that so well.
Yeah. If you had to say like who has influenced your art in general, like who would be some of your influences and how did you find your own style?
Oh, that's a good question. It's you know it is a lot of what I read as a child. So like and a lot of the classic books. I was reading like Garth Williams, who did all the black and white ink illustrations and like the
Mm-hmm.
Little House on the Prairie books.
Mm-hmm.
I think he did like Charlotte's Web as well. And then like Sasha Tudor, who did some of the drawings in a lot of those older books, like The Secret Garden, and I believe that's yes, yeah, Secret Garden, and some of those older like early 20th century books. And then like Kevin Henkes, which was another
Mm-hmm.
author illustrator or picture book illustrator that I really love. And I got he kind of has some similarities to Tommy DePaola in a
Yeah.
weird way. He does more animals, but he also does
Mm-hmm.
like similar color palettes and then strong outlines.
Uh-huh.
Um, yeah, I feel like maybe those influence, like I really love a bold pen, a bold stroke with a
Mm-hmm.
lot of color. That kind of like folk artsy looking like stained glass window kind of
Mm-hmm.
style. So I would say, yeah, a little bit of all of those, I think.
Yeah. Can I say when I don't it was since my oldest daughter was born, she's 6. I didn't realize that all the books that Kevin, how did he say his last name? Kevin Henkes?
Kevin
Henkes?
Hankins. Mm-hmm.
Yes. I always assumed that was a woman drawing that
Oh,
because
really?
I don't know why. I mean that is like a gender stereotype on my part, but just the way he draws just seems I don't know, like a little bit more delicate, and all of the animals are just so lovable.
Yes.
And so it was probably, I would say in the last 2 or 3 years that I realized who drew that. I was like, oh, I had no
That's
idea.
Isn't that funny how that like yeah, we don't even think about it. It just kind of like enters our
Yeah.
subconscious. I thought that Frances Hodgson Burnett, who wrote The Secret Garden and A Little
Hmm.
Princess, I thought that was a man, like all my childhood, just because
Yeah.
I never heard the name Frances for a woman. But so
It's
yeah,
so
and then like
funny.
all of a sudden it's mind blowing, and you're like, I don't know why it's like why it should matter that much, but it somehow
Yes.
does.
Yeah, I don't know why it mattered, or why I even thought that, but it's just, I mean, it was true. I was shocked when I was like, oh my goodness, I had no idea.
Yeah.
Would little Jenny be surprised that you're an artist?
I think yes and no. I probably a little surprised that I'm a visual artist. I
Mm-hmm.
think I've always had a lot of like I've always felt like I was going to be a writer one day, even though it kind of terrified me and I had no clue how to make that happen. I just always felt like that was what I was going to do. But with my art, I don't know. I don't. Yeah, it's kind of weird. I don't know. I mean, I didn't go to school for writing either, so I don't know why I had more like self doubt as
Mm-hmm.
a visual artist. But I always like doodled on my math homework and I
Mm-hmm.
made like birthday cards for friends. I was always drawing, but I don't know, I just thought it was like this little fun thing that I did. I didn't ever think that it would be like a career path for me.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think all my work that I do, I think I would have been shocked. Like, I could have never said, I'm going to be an artist who draws things inspired by everything I loved in my childhood, all my
Mm-hmm.
favorite books, you know? I think
Mm-hmm.
I would have thought that that would be impossible.
Yeah, that's really cool. All right, tell me about your work and then the book that y'all have published, and just tell me about that.
So my shop, Carrot Top Paper Shop, is my business that I started 9 years ago for my daughter. I found out I was pregnant with her, and when I found out we were having a girl, I was most excited about sharing all of my love of reading with her and all of my
Mm-hmm.
favorite childhood classics. So I was like, especially like Anne of Green Gables, and then thinking like Little House on the Prairie, and then when she got older, like Jane Eyre, all Jane Austen's works, and that was like the most exciting thing about having a girl for me. So I wanted her nursery to have like literary heroine inspired art,
Mm-hmm.
and I just thought that I could find that online very easily, and I couldn't. Everything I found was just like very literal, like a quote on a white piece of paper. Like
Mm-hmm.
nothing was like whimsical and childlike and attractive for children. So I started drawing my own. I drew a little heroine banner for her
Mm-hmm.
room, and yeah, long story short, that's really what started it all. I started out with a few heroine prints, a few illustrated quotes, and found out that there were a lot of other women out in the world that wanted to share these same things. Yes, you're one of them, with their daughters. Yeah, so that was, and so I feel like there are a lot more. there's a lot more of that in the world today. Like on
Mm-hmm.
Instagram, there's like that community is much bigger of
Mm-hmm.
like this kindred spirit community. And but it was so surprising to me 9 years ago to like discover that I wasn't the only one. And
Yeah.
um, so anyway, so that has so yeah, I say that my art is inspired by literary heroines, and being the heroine of your life is really important to me, and kind of the lens in which I see the world. So that led to the book that I co-wrote with my friend Laura Lee Craker. She is an author. She's has a lot of experience. She's written, I think this was book number 16 for her,
Oh wow.
and this was book number 1 for me. So it's called Eat Like a Heroine, Nourish and Flourish with Bookish Stars from Anne of Green Gables to Zora Neale Hurston. And it's a book about, well, I feel like I always have to start by saying what it's not. It's not a cookbook.
Uh-huh.
It's not a diet book.
Uh-huh.
It's not a book of any rules whatsoever. But it's a book that looks at how food and community and personal transformation
Mm-hmm.
are all deliciously intertwined, as we say. So if you love the heroine classics, I think you will love Eat Like a Heroine, because it peels back all of these layers, and like it gives you another chance to like to live through them in a different way, and also to apply a lot of things that I feel like are lost in our modern world, and how we care for others with food, how we
Mm-hmm.
host, how we, yeah, just serve others and share what we have. So I think it's a very fun and lighthearted book, with also a lot of wisdom and depth, thanks to the heroines.
That's really cool. I really like that. And I definitely think that food is its own like art form and way of serving and being in community with each other.
Yeah.
And so I used to be part of and I worked with college kids and we ate a meal together like every week, and it was like a huge focus of like we eat together because that's how you share life. Like that
Mm.
is like an ancient way of sharing life together.
Yes, yes. And I feel like more and more we think of being healthy as like sitting, or as long as you're eating a salad, it doesn't matter if you're sitting in front of a screen by
Mm-hmm.
yourself watching something, like maybe it's actually, there are just, yeah, different ways to measure health. Maybe it's healthier to eat with a crowd of people and have pancakes.
Yes.
So yeah, I guess it's looking at health in a different way, and
Yeah.
like thriving communities. And
Who was the first heroine that you drew for the banner? Was it Anne?
yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, there were 5. Yes,
Okay.
and not all of them are ones that are in the shop now, but yeah, and Green Gables was definitely on there.
How, what was the process of illustrating the book like?
Oh yes, Eat Like a Heroine. Yeah, it has. Yeah, so I got to do the illustrations on the cover, which was super fun. I had a lot more, and then inside there is one illustration per chapter, and then there
Mm-hmm.
are lots of little like just little doodles throughout. But um, yeah, I was given like total free range. And again,
Mm-hmm.
this was my first book, so I didn't know what to expect. I really thought that there would be more guidance. So I was kind of waiting for that. So like once I was given the go ahead to do the illustrations, they just kind of said like, well, whatever you mentioned in the proposal, which is what we sent them in the beginning, which is what they read. And that's how they decide if they're going to take the project on or not. So, but I hadn't, the proposal was like a vague vision of what the book would look like, and I
Mm-hmm.
just said like, well, I think it will have like these kinds of drawings, and they're like, okay, great. So I think I had like 4 weeks to do the illustrations,
Oh, wow.
and I knew it was coming at any point, so I was kind of like just doing some practice drawings and just trying to get a feel for what I wanted it to look like. But so when I draw for my product lines, I feel like I have a lot of, there tends to be a little more anxiety. Like I feel like I throw away a lot more than I ever
Mm-hmm.
keep when I'm
Mm-hmm.
doing a product line. Like I have lots of mistakes before I get to something that I like. But I don't know what it was about this project, but I felt like it went very smoothly. I just kept telling myself like, don't overthink it, because if I decided I was gonna make everything perfect and draw this piece of pie 20 times until it was perfect, then I would
Mm-hmm.
just drive myself
Mm-hmm.
crazy. And I don't know, I had a fear of regret that like once it was published, I would be like, oh, why didn't I spend more time doing that? Like, why didn't I do it this way? And I think once I finally just let that go, I was just able to enjoy the process, and
Mm-hmm.
maybe had something to do with it going smoothly. Yeah, and even now I'm like, there are imperfections. There are things I might have done differently, but that's just the way it is.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was a lot of fun. A lot of fun to be able to illustrate my own book.
That sounds so fun. Will we ever see the book that you and your husband wrote together?
I hope so. I really hope so. I feel like it's one of those things that I was sad to let go of at the time, but now I feel like, you know what, maybe it was something that was just preparing the way for 10 years from now. I have no idea. Yeah. But we have not given up on it in our hearts. I just have no clue what the plan is for it.
Well, I hope the best for it. All right. Who do you hope reads the Eat Like a Heroine book?
Ooh, anyone who loves the classics, or who maybe they've like forgotten them. They read them a long time ago and they feel like, you know, they've done that. I hope they pick them back up again. There's just so much joy, and those books are just so delightful, and they're not just nostalgic because they're nostalgic. You know, there's so much depth, so much to be gleaned in them. So if you love the heroine classics in any way, I hope you pick them up, and I hope you pick up this Eat Like a Heroine, and I hope it inspires you.
Fantastic. Well, share where people can follow you or buy the book or anything else that you would like to share.
Sure. The book can be found on Amazon or through our publisher, which is Endgame Press. So on their website, endgamepress.com. It's also at some local bookstores. I would encourage you, if you have a favorite local independent bookstore, give them a call and ask them to carry it. And let's see, you can find me online. My website is artistjennywilliams.com. I have a blog there and also a link to my shop. My shop is also carrottoppapershop.com. And you can find me on Instagram at carrottoppapershop as well.
Well, to the audience, thank you for joining me for this episode of Turning Back the Pages. If you have any author or artist suggestions, please feel free to email me at whatallywrites@gmail.com. You can follow the show on Instagram or Twitter at whatallywrites. Ally is ALLY. And don't forget to subscribe.